and thanks so much for joining us. I'm Carol Jenkins. The program is Black America, and today we are joined by Glynda Carr, co-founder of Higher Heights, a national organization that provides Black women candidates a political home. Tremendous success in recent elections. Thanks so much, Glynda, for being here.
Thanks for having us.
All right, right. I'm always bugging you. I'm following you everywhere and saying, Glynda, give me the update. And you always know everything that's going on. And what I love about Higher Heights is that not only is it this sort of support system in the advice way, but it's also a money support. You've got a PAC too that is raising money for Black women candidates. So that's fabulous. So tell us a little bit about what's the latest thing. I know that I was at your fabulous brunch a couple of weeks ago.
It is, well, the brunch was great. So
yeah.
We just recently did a brunch celebrating the 5 new Black women that are elected in serving in Congress. So it's the 50th anniversary of Shirley Chisholm being sworn into office, making her the first Black woman to ever serve in that body. And 50 years later, there's still a lot of work. Black women are still underrepresented and underserved in this democracy, but we absolutely have been showing up and showing out at the polls and frankly on the ballot. And so what you saw last year is a record number of women running, a record number of women of color, and a record number of Black women. And so we celebrate the gains, but we also recognize that that's the successes at the polls for Black women last year is the roadmap for us to actually have parity in our representation. So we elected the largest number of Black women to serve in Congress. We elected the largest number of Black women serving on the statewide executive office, although it's only 4. 3 lieutenant governors, and right here in New York, we elected the first woman to be statewide executive in Letitia James in the Attorney General. So we're excited about that. And we elected Black women up and down the ballot across the country. So there's a record number of Black women serving in state legislatures across this country. And in 2014, there was only 1 Black woman serving as a mayor of a top 100 city. We now, as of April 2nd, with the election of Lori Lightfoot in Chicago, have 8. So that's a huge leap from 2014 to 2018. So we know that there's this roadmap, and now we need to build an infrastructure, continue to encourage Black women to run for office, train Black women to run for office, but more importantly, open up our pocketbooks to support them financially as candidates, and get out in the streets and knock on doors and make phone calls, because when you have diverse decision-making tables, they make better decisions.
Yeah. So you and Kimberly Peeler-Allen, your co-founder, are doing just a tremendous job. I want to know what brought you to this work. Place yourself in Black America is a question that we always ask our guests. And so tell us a little bit about your childhood, your influences.
Well, I am the great-granddaughter of Carol Jenkins. She was born in 1895 and died shy of her 100th birthday. So I was blessed to grow up in Hartford, Connecticut, and in a 15-block radius, I had my great-grandmother, grandmother, and mother.
Oh, that's
so
amazing.
I call myself a 4G. So of having a very strong, willed, empowered Black women. My great-grandmother, born in the 1890s, had little career opportunities, if none.
Sure.
A 3rd grade education, wasn't supposed to own property, but she did. Didn't have the career opportunities, but owned a business. And so they stood tall and walked tall, and they used their political voice, even though 2 of them didn't have a right to vote for most of their lives, in a way that ensured that their great-grandchildren had access to the best education, and to envision a world where her great-granddaughter wasn't confined by glass ceilings or closing in walls. So we're a politically active family. I remember growing up that Saturdays meant that we were stuffing envelopes or sitting in the back of a meeting with my parents. And on my 18th birthday, my mother drove me to City Hall and registered me to vote. And until the day she died, she called me and my brothers every election to ensure that we vote. Yeah, because when you have an engaged Black woman voter, she doesn't go to the polls alone. She brings her house, her block, her church, and her sorority. And so that's how, even though my undergrad degree is in music.
Yeah, I was looking at that and I said, that's a step. So from music, but it's the family impression.
Yeah, so it was something about that foundation that
Sure.
when my path kind of changed, both in college and, as a young professional, that I kind of stepped into, by happenstance to be engaged and wanted to be, more community minded and more politically minded. Higher Heights was born in a Brooklyn cafe by happenstance. Kimberly and I were having coffee about what my next political step was going to be. When you work in politics, sometimes you wake up after election without a job. And so I was actually working for an advocacy organization that decided after the 2010 midterm elections that they were going in a different direction. And so I had an opportunity to take some space to figure out next steps. And so I took Kimberly to coffee to figure out my next steps. And we started just venting and complaining about the state of Black women in American democracy, the fact that, we invest much more in a democracy than what we receive back. And we were like, we should start our own organization. And literally we were like, we should start our own org. And we came up with the name that day.
You did, really.
And spent 2 years researching it. And last year, what I think is a full circle moment about two friends having coffee on a dreary rainy day in Brooklyn, that Kamala Harris stood at one of our events during the Congressional Black Caucus annual legislative conference, and she said, you didn't know you were building an organization for this season.
Right, right. So she was there, and again, since Chisholm, there hasn't been a Black woman who, well, I guess there have been,
Yeah.
but we're faced with it now, the real prospect of a Black woman running for president of the United States, or two Black women running for president of the United States. What happens if Stacey Abrams enters the race and Kamala Harris is there? What does Higher Heights do?
Well, what I love about the moment is you have Kamala Harris boldly stepping off the sidelines and running for the highest office, and is perceived as a front runner, right? And that is exciting. We are still 18 months from the 2020 elections.
Right.
So, as informed voters, we should be questioning every candidate. What we've been saying with Higher Heights, we are the political home for Black women, is that every single candidate vying for our votes need to stop by our house. And I always say, and have a cup of coffee. So we're excited about, Senator Harris, continuing to, join her colleagues around across the country in conversations and debates with voters. But it's also exciting that in the same breath, we're having conversations about two Black women. If we're successful at Higher Heights, we're going to have more Black women running, and they're going to be running for the same office. And then, Black women voters are on a monolithic voting block, and the ability to be able to be engaged in informed dialogue, and being able to be informed and engage in a dialogue with someone that looks like you with a background and experience, I think is exciting for Black women, and particularly for young Black women. Research points to a role modeling effect. When Black women see other Black women running, winning, and leading, that actually inspires them to run, win, and lead themselves.
Right. Let's talk a little bit about Stacey Abrams, because Higher Heights really worked very, very hard on that race. And it must have been heartbreaking when, well, as some would say, it was stolen, but many of us might say that. So how do you recover? How does she recover? How does Higher Heights move on from that in Georgia, for instance? Do you think that she should do Georgia again?
Well, as she says, she has wide open opportunities, which is something about this season. What we loved about Stacey Abrams is her trajectory. Here is a woman that ran, for state legislature and moved up in the ranks to minority leader there, and had created literally an infrastructure and a pathway for her to run in the Deep South for a statewide office. There has never been a Black woman ever elected as a governor. But she made history, because not only has there never been a Black woman elected governor, we've never had a nominee on either side of Republicans or Democrats. So the pure fact that she stood on election night was a glass ceiling breaking moment. I think for me, what I love also about her is that the diversity of how we present ourselves as Black women. Why I was personally vested was my godchildren live in Georgia. So for them to sit at, the dinner table and see a woman that wears her hair just like my goddaughter wears, I think is an empowering moment for women about how we show up in the society and how we lead in the society. So she pretty much can, determine where she wants to go. I know she's making decisions, and there's multiple opportunities for her.
I loved her statement that when there was the Biden controversy, where she said,
I don't run for second.
Yeah, no one runs for second place, right?
And then what I also, think is important to note for Stacey Abrams is here is a woman that was running in a state that was a highly contested race that people were following. By the end of the year, she was the most Googled politician in the country, and is sought after as a speaker, is sought after as she's a writer, both fiction and nonfiction. She's got an amazing repackaging of her book out now, and I think that she has completely changed the perception of Black women running for office. And it's what we said at Higher Heights, is the Black woman that ran and won in 2018 and the Black woman who ran and lost completely have changed the face of democracy and how the broader community has to interact with Black women running for office.
Let's talk about some of the other women who have won. Johanna Hayes was at your brunch, and I was telling you that we interviewed her when she was still a candidate for Teacher of the Year, and then went on, and so it was wonderful to reconnect with her. The first African-American woman from the state of Connecticut, now in Congress. Tell us a little bit about what you think she brings to the table, a former teacher, now political person.
What we said is that we celebrated on January 3rd when they were sworn in the fact that there were a record number of Black women, and we helped to send 5 new Black women to Congress. But what is actually even more impressive is that we sent a teacher, a nurse, Lauren Underwood from Illinois, a city council member from Boston, who is a sexual assault and domestic violence survivor from not only her but her family, and
a flight attendant, a former
flight attendant
but with
who
a much
is
larger story.
Yep, Lucy McBath, who's a flight attendant who is a mother of a slain Black boy, and finally Ilhan Omar, who is a Somalian refugee. So they bring their unique experiences and background, and what you've seen in their 100 days in office is that they have pushed legislation and have spoken truth to power on domestic violence, on the health care, on gun violence, and on education. And I think that is an important fabric that Black women bring to these decision-making tables.
So, Lauren Underwood, the youngest, has she turned 30 yet?
No, she's in her 30s. She's not old enough to be to run for president, though.
Okay.
I think she's 33 or 34, but she's not old enough to run for president.
Right.
But the youngest Black woman ever.
Ever.
So you also have a change in diversity. Lauren is in her 30s. Ilhan is in her 30s. You have, members that are in their 40s, and so that new freshman class of all the freshman class, and particularly the freshman class of color, have changed the age demographics in Congress, and I think that's an important voice that needs to be at the table.
So that's Congress, and I recognize we were talking about the short term. 2 years is almost no time. As soon as you get elected, you have to raise money and start running again. So that whole system. So do you think that those 5 women are, as close as you can get to saying safe, for being reelected, or what do you see in the next 2 years?
Well, what you also saw last year was the diversity of women running in what, when you talk about partisan politics, in flippable seats. So in a diverse seat. So what I appreciate and what we say at Higher Heights is that don't, pigeonhole Black women in running in what you perceive the seats that they can run for, which are often urban, which are often districts of color. For me, it's like if you're going to envision a woman in a White House or in a governor's mansion, it is about if a white man can represent me, surely a Black woman can represent a diverse district.
So both Lauren Underwood and Lucy McBath are
in districts that are, so Lauren is actually in a district that is only 3% Black.
Right.
And Lucy McBath is a diverse district, but it is a majority minority district. So that and similar to Johanna Hayes, although her district is I think considered a blue district, it is a very diverse district, and isn't a district that's dominantly a Black district. So that shows the Bonnie Watson Colemans of the world in New Jersey, who represents a white district, that you are going to see more diversity in candidates running for districts that are diverse as well.
Right. Well, we see so much more diversity now that the Democrats have taken over the House of Representatives, at least. And you and I were talking about Maxine Waters, and now that she's head of that financial committee, she is, taking no prisoners. Talk to us a little bit about the women who have been in Congress in positions for many, many years, and now their opportunity to lead.
Yeah, it is exciting. You've had Black women running and winning for years, and particularly in Congress, that have been ranking members on major committees like a Maxine Waters. They have always, as we say, been speaking truth to power in the legacy of a Sojourner Truth. And that is what you're seeing in this 24-hour news cycle and social media news cycle. Rep Waters has some great clips, but you are seeing them at these hearings, both in 2018 when they were in the minority and now in the majority, pushing the envelope and bringing the voices of Black women and America, frankly, to these conversations and hearings in a way that I don't think we've seen. And because it's a 24-hour news cycle, it's not that they've done anything different, it's just being televised.
Right. But it was great to see Maxine with the gavel. Boom, my room,
my gavel, my
gavel.
committee.
Right, you can leave anytime you want. One of the things that one of the many things that I love about Higher Heights is that it's not just that top level of women running for office, but all the way, I don't want to say down, but through the system of government where you have identified women who should be supported. Talk to us a little bit about that, because what many people fail to realize is that those lower levels hold so much power and need to be filled. Those slots need to be filled by Black women.
Yep. So, our organization, from a political perspective, our PAC endorses and supports candidates running on the federal level, the statewide executive level, and top 100 cities. But we think it is important that women that are thinking about running for office, women that are currently running for office, and frankly, the everyday women who I consider who want to be more engaged in not only helping to elect more Black women, but to mobilize Black women, have the tools to be able to do that. And so we've launched a hashtag Black Women Lead political webinar series where we provide, online training. We call it, you can sit in your living room, at a cafe, in your car, and see trainers that look like you to talk about kind of the tools that you need. So for us, it is, creating a place and a space uniquely designed for Black women for us to be informed, engaged, and to take action. So what we see are that there may be women that, a national, regardless of how large an organization is, we can't be everywhere.
Right.
And the research has actually pointed to that Black women aren't only not encouraged to run for office, they're actively discouraged to run for office.
Discouraged, right.
And so, having, and Black women also are one of the largest users of social media and media consumers.
Right.
So being able to kind of marry that, oftentimes you may not want to go to a physical training, which we partner with many of our partnering organizations, but being able to just, click through and then have an online community to ask questions and be informed allows us to build the capacity of more women across this country. And what we've found as we've talked to them, we've been to events and someone would stand up and like, you helped me win my election. And we're like,
sure.
Don't even know you.
Right,
and it was a school board election. She's like, I sat on.
See there, school board,
Yep.
right.
I sat on your webinar, or
right.
you connected me, you gave some resources. That we are quietly building this, what I love is this powerful network that are connecting each other in a way that is inspiring women to run.
So let's talk about the Black woman voter, which is another huge piece to our entire national electoral scene. You had said, or the organization, that you wanted to mobilize 1 million women and raise $1 million. How's that going?
It's going well. It is
by
going
2020?
well. By 2020. I know that's around the corner. And uniquely from Black women. And
right.
so we are continuing to build out an amazing infrastructure. So our nonpartisan voter program is called #BlackWomenVote. Right. If you've seen a theme, all of our programs are named after hashtags.
Right.
Because Black women, again, are the largest users of social media. We spend 3 to 4 hours a day more on social media than the general population. And we click through more videos. I am so guilty of that. And so what we're doing, if you go to our micro site called blackwomenvote.com, is literally giving you the tools to be informed, engaged, and to take action. And again, more importantly, we don't go to the polls alone. So giving tools for us to organize our networks. My mother was a perfect example of that. She was 1+4. Right? And she organized our entire house remotely, old-fashioned. She pulled out her phone book. And so we believe that leading into 2020, which is, everyone says every election is a pivotal election. This, once again, is a pivotal election, that not only do we need to make sure we're informed and that the candidates are not taking us for granted and speaking to us and the issues that we care about in a real way, but that we also need to be diligent in making sure that we are organizing our networks to the polls. And that is what this Black Women Vote program will continue to do in a much larger way. So we encourage you to go to blackwomenvote.com and to be engaged and be prepared for that program. And Black women, we are the economic drivers in our community. So if you're not a political giver, we should consider being a political giver. We are huge philanthropists, and we give 25% more of our money, regardless of where we are in a socioeconomic background, than the general population. Imagine if we just shifted a percentage of that to political leadership. Find a candidate that you are inspired by, and make your first contribution. If you have already contributed, consider making monthly contributions or making larger contributions. Last year, I tried to stretch myself and double my political giving, and literally figuring out what my political giving is and who are those candidates that I wanted to be engaged in.
But it seems that the candidates are preferring small givers, and actually a major candidate writing to say, please give $1 to my campaign so I can qualify, for the number of contributors as opposed to the big dollar donors.
Well, unfortunately, we live in a democracy where you need both, but what I love about the empowerment of small donations, everyone has a role to play. And that was, Howard Dean started that, and I think obviously President Obama perfected that, where people were sending their $3. But oftentimes I think, people don't think $3 matter, and $3 absolutely matters. So, it's sometimes shifting where that money is coming from. Is it giving up a cup of coffee, or is it just making it an importance to your participation in democracy. So voting is obviously non-negotiable, but then that next step,
$1 or $5,
that $5,
stretching,
to candidates or organizations organizations like Higher Heights that do the work to recruit and train and support Black women and create a space for our voices to be heard.
So talk to me about the Democratic Party and its relationship to Black women. I mean, Black women have been electing candidates for years and years. And I know that there was a period where Higher Heights and other organizations felt that the Democratic Party was still not giving due respect. How do you feel about that now?
Yep. So, I think we continue to need to hold our party infrastructures to task. And I would beg to say that we should be having conversations with both of the major parties, both Republicans and Democrats. Although most Black women, are engaged in this democracy as Democrats, we are the building blocks to a winning coalition. The next Democratic president will have to have a serious engagement with Black women. My mother, going back to my mother organized herself to the polls every election cycle, oftentimes not getting any mail or any calls from those who were
needed her vote.
Right. But she did her due diligence to figure out. She voted. We vote our interests based on issues, and so I think there's a difference between where Black women have historically been around our engagement in democracy, where we are now going to be demanding our return on our voting engagement. And I think the work that Higher Heights and 31 Black women leaders across this country, when we penned an open letter to the DNC back in 2017, was there is going to be a change in the way we interact. And that interaction is that we need that return. And that return on our voting investment is the fact that we want economically stable educated, healthy, and safe communities. And we want to see policies that are centered around the issues we care about. And frankly, those issues that we are fighting for aren't just a Black woman's issues. It's not Black America. It is actually issues that translate across the country. We want to have an investment in our leadership, that we want to see ourselves being invested in as candidates. When it's all said and done, in 2018, the Black woman that won and broke through, like a Lauren Underwood and an Ayanna Presley, still did not have institutional support early, and actually were still not raising the monies like their counterparts. So there still is a lot of work, and that work is ensuring that we are holding, not only our elected officials accountable, but the party system that is, needing us.
And, well, you guys are doing. You women are doing tremendous work, and we're so appreciative. But as we close the show, and you'll have to come back, we always ask our guests what they think the power, the strength of Black America is. Let me see if I can imagine what you're going to say next. What do you think the power, the strength of Black America is?
When we help Black women lead, we move this country to higher heights.
All right, and a plug for the organization as well. Please go to higherheights.org. You will find two websites, one for the political action and one for donating. So I would say that this is a good place to put your political money as well. Thanks so much, Glynda Carr, for being with us today.
Thank you, Carol.
And thanks to you out there for joining us. I'm Carol Jenkins. The program is Black America, and we'll see you the next time.